One question that I keep hearing about the sequel saga is, well, why did Luke Skywalker leave a map to the First Jedi Temple if he's supposed to be going somewhere where people can't find him? And the truth is that that question is flawed because, well, that's not really what happened. The truth is that a lot of the plot holes people find with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, those are holes that they've actually created. I mean, if you take a step back and you look at the bigger picture of the story being told, a lot of these questions actually have an answer. And in this video, I'm going to answer this particular question related to Luke Skywalker and how Rey is able to find him there on Ach-To. What's up, Star Wars fans? My name is Prince and I'm an urban acolyte. In this video, I'm going to talk about Luke Skywalker's evolution from Return of the Jedi to when we see him become one with the Force by the end of The Last Jedi. And this is actually a response to a post over on Reddit that's asking questions about whether or not Rian Johnson's presentation of Luke Skywalker lines up with what J.J. Abrams intended at the end of The Force Awakens. Now, before I get into the meat of this video, I just want to say that if you're new here, I call this geek culture with a purpose. I talk about Star Wars, superhero movies, and martial arts films. And if that sounds like your kind of thing, be sure to subscribe. Hey, and for y'all that are already subscribed, hey, ring that bell to enable notifications so you don't miss new videos from me. So that post over on Reddit is by user Ego Shop, and it reads, I'm sure most of us have heard this argument about The Last Jedi being perfectly consistent with The Force Awakens. Often accompanied by this image, the gist is that Han's statement of he just walked away from everything is some be-all, end-all gotcha that shuts down any idea that JJ had a different plan for Episode 8. Very conveniently, defenders usually leave out Han's next statement about looking for the First Jedi Temple. It's something that fundamentally clashes with the idea of Luke just saying, fuck it, giving up and retreating into exile. And we know it's something he had to actually seek out and find. That wasn't a known location to him when his school was destroyed. Cut to The Last Jedi and we have Luke's definitive statement, I came to this island to die. Was he taking the time to search for the First Jedi Temple just to burn it down and kill himself? So first, let's actually go back to that conversation Han Solo had with Finn and Rey aboard the Millennium Falcon in The Force Awakens. Han says that ever since Luke disappeared, people went looking for him. He was training a new generation of Jedi when a boy, one of his apprentices, turned against him and destroyed it all. Han said that Luke felt responsible and he just walked away from everything. And when Finn asked Han if he knew what happened to Luke, Han's response was that the people who knew Luke best thought he went looking for the First Jedi Temple. Now in The Last Jedi, we see the same Luke Skywalker that Han Solo described in The Force Awakens. Luke started a new generation of Jedi. His nephew, Ben Solo, was turned into the dark side and he was being manipulated by Snoke. Luke saw what Kylo Ren would go on to do and for an instant thought about ending the threat that Ben Solo would unleash upon the galaxy. Now in that instant, Ben saw Luke and attempted to defeat him. Ben burned the temple to the ground, convinced some to join him, and the rest of Luke's students were slaughtered, earning Ben Solo the nickname of Jedi Killer within the ranks of the First Order. So Luke Skywalker tells Rey that his failure was the same failure of previous generations of Jedi. So we came to the First Jedi Temple with the intentions of dying there as the last of the Jedi Order so that the Jedi would never be able to repeat their mistakes. This Luke Skywalker lines up with everything Han Solo said in The Force Awakens. Furthermore, this Luke Skywalker fits what George Lucas was going to do with the character. Look, Luke Skywalker has gone missing. Years of loss have led him to become a disillusioned old man who is now a hermit. The hope he had was lost, and the only thing he wants to do is fade into nothing and be forgotten. So this brings us back to the original question. If Luke was going into hiding, why would he leave a map to his location? And well, the thing is, Luke didn't leave a map. Luke did not use a map to get to Ach-To. He used a compass. If you haven't seen the mission in Star Wars Battlefront 2, there's a mission where the player gets to play as Luke Skywalker following the events in Return of the Jedi. In this particular mission, Luke Skywalker teams up with Inferno Squad member Del Meeko on Del's mission to destroy Palpatine's observatory on Pelio. When they reach the observatory, Luke and Del discover that it is full of old Jedi relics. One of the relics there is a compass, which Luke keeps with him. Now, if you were on the live stream when I played through Inferno Squad story missions, I guessed correctly that someone needed the Force to use that compass, and also guessed that Luke used that compass to get to Ach-To. Now, this probably doesn't make sense, but hey, it's Star Wars, and this is how the Force works. Also, in the most recent Thrawn novel, Thrawn Alliances, we learned that the Chiss use young girls who are Force sensitive as navigators on their ships because they don't have navicomputers. As it turns out, hyperspace lanes are unstable and constantly moving in the unknown regions, which is probably why it's the unknown regions. You can't make a map of a place if that place keeps changing. Third sight, as the Chiss call it, or foresight, is required to see things before they happen and act accordingly if someone is going to navigate a ship through the unknown regions. It is highly likely that hyperspace travel in Republic space was probably also performed in the same way by people who were, as the Chiss called them, Skywalkers, which is the basic translation of the Chiss word for these Force-sensitive navigators. So Luke used that compass and the Force to navigate his way to Ach-To in true Skywalker fashion. So if Luke did not use a map, then why did he leave a map behind for people to locate him? And the thing is, Luke didn't leave a map behind. Just because Luke did not use a map to find Ach-To doesn't mean that there was never a map created. As we saw with R2-D2, the location of Ach-To had been erased from all records. R2's portion of the map came from the Imperial Archives. Maybe it was the case that someone like the Jedi librarian Jocasta Nu erased the records of Ach-To from the Jedi Archives when she hit the holocrons to begin a new Jedi Order when she went into hiding during Order 66. And we know that Luke eventually did find that hidden library. As for the map was found by Lord Santeca between the time when Poe Dameron rescued him from the First Order and when they met again on Jakku at the start of The Force Awakens. Lord Santeca had been searching for relics related to not just the ancient Jedi Order, but he had discovered relics that seemed to go beyond the Jedi, like that holocron that required both the dark side and the light side of the Force to access. So I know people feel like Rian Johnson just took a big dump on The Force Awakens and their idea of who Luke Skywalker was supposed to be. And I can't say anything to change how someone feels about the movie. And unless they are willing to let go of the story they've created in their own mind, hey, there's no way that anything I say can convince them otherwise. Look, the story group has always said that Luke's greatest strength is his compassion. Luke did become a powerful Jedi, but the Luke Skywalker that exists in the canon was more focused on being a Jedi and not so much on being a warrior. And I know this is something difficult for a lot of people to accept given the prequel era Jedi, where they were literally portrayed as elite soldiers dressed as space samurai without the armor. If the Jedi are supposed to be these Zen masters who have superior fighting abilities through their mastery of the Force, well, how come we don't see much of the Zen side? If Jedi are Taoists, the way my friend Taoist monk Yun Ro says anytime he writes about Star Wars or attempts to relate Taoism to modern pop culture, then how come we don't actually see the Jedi in harmony with nature? How come they don't find unusual ways to make people think and solve their own problems? Why are the Jedi not awakening people to the reality of the Force instead of playing as the Republic's enforcers? Those are the questions that some part of the Star Wars fandom doesn't want to answer because they've been spoiled by the expanded universe version of Luke, who kicks lots of ass and does really cool stuff with the Force. People went into these movies expecting to see Luke Rambo Skywalker, and they felt disappointed and angry when they didn't see Luke unleash the Force on the First Order. But he kind of did. Look, the most powerful Jedi knows when to put down their lightsaber and make the ultimate sacrifice for the good of the Force. Kanan Jarrus did it. Ezra Bridger learned that lesson to save Lothal and possibly the rebellion. Obi-Wan Kenobi did it to save Luke and the rebellion. The 3 Force users did it to save Luke after the events in Return of the Jedi. You have to read the Legends of Luke Skywalker to know what I'm talking about. And Luke eventually learned that lesson, and he did it at the end of The Last Jedi to save Leia, Rey, and the new rebellion. So that leaves me with one last point. A lot of people feel like Rian Johnson took a dump all over JJ's work in The Force Awakens and on Luke Skywalker. And the thing is this, when you read The Art of The Force Awakens, there are all kinds of interesting tidbits about the production stages of The Force Awakens. Some of those ideas carried over into other works like in Rogue One. It turns out that the first 1/3 of The Last Jedi is actually things JJ would have put in The Force Awakens. And I said this shortly after I reviewed The Last Jedi. Look, the first third of Episode 8 would have been in Episode 7. More importantly, The Art of the Force Awakens ends with a short essay called, "Who is Luke Skywalker?" This is the first question JJ asked when everyone came together to start working on the sequel trilogy. JJ spent The Force Awakens showing these events all around the question of, well, where is Luke Skywalker? The heroes and the villains are all scrambling to find Luke, and at the end of the movie, Rey finds Luke Skywalker. But we haven't addressed the question of who Luke has become. Now look, if you're upset with Rian Johnson, you should think logically and ask, well, why didn't JJ answer that question? Why leave it up to Rian Johnson to answer the question? If we're going to go there, we should also think about the fact that, well, the first 1/3 of The Last Jedi is stuff JJ would have done with The Force Awakens, meaning the Luke we get in The Last Jedi was the Luke J.J. Abrams was going to give us in The Force Awakens. So if you feel like Luke was weak or ruined or he was a pussy or anything like that, well, that's the Luke Skywalker that you were always going to get, Playboy. And one more thing, it's also the Luke that George Lucas was going to give you. Because Luke Skywalker has always been George Lucas putting himself in this story. George Lucas walked away from Star Wars because Star Wars fans don't know what they want, and he was ready to retire and rest. It's why the idea of listening to the fans is completely impossible. There is no one singular voice that belongs to the fans. Look, some fans want more women of color. Some fans don't want what they consider forced diversity. Some fans are so misinformed that they think Star Wars has never had a hint of politics or real world events interwoven into the story. Like, look, George Lucas is gone. Lucasfilm is in the hands of the new guard. Everyone's heroes are now gone. They're all exiting the story. They're fading into the twilight. And if Star Wars is going to continue, it is up to new people to move Star Wars into a new era that is not focused on the Skywalker family. Look, it's just like the prophecy of Mortis or the prophecy of the Chosen One. There is one who will bring balance to the Force, but it has always been up to the Jedi to maintain that balance. We've seen the story of the Chosen One and his offspring. There's a big galaxy out there with lots of stories to be told. It's time to see what new direction new storytellers can take Star Wars for a new generation of fans who aren't so attached to Luke, Han, and Leia, or for the millennials, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin, and Padme of the prequel era. It's like Yoda said, the Force is always in motion. In my martial arts style, Ili Chin, my Sifu says that you have to change with the change. If you don't change, you get stuck. I know people feel a certain kind of way when I say, hey, if you don't like Star Wars, find something else. But what I'm really saying, it goes far beyond all the stuff going on with Star Wars. It's really about being mindful of the present moment, which is really how the Force works. I talked about that in a video a few years ago. You should probably check it out. It might help you better understand what was going on with Luke Skywalker and where I feel like Star Wars is going in the future when it comes to Force users. I mean, Rain Roberts of the Lucasfilm Story Group did suggest people read Matthew Bertolin's The Dharma of Star Wars. And here's a hint. Hey, I read that book years before I even thought of talking about Star Wars here on YouTube. So I can understand if some people won't read it. I mean, they'd rather just listen to some dude on YouTube tell them something completely ridiculous, like how Rey is actually a Sith spy because it makes the story make more sense. But But I'll stop because someone watching this video probably likes that theory, and I might hurt their feelings. Well, actually, if somebody liked that nonsense, I doubt they made it this far into this video to know that I'm even talking about them. But yo, before I wrap this up, I want to give some shout outs to everyone doing the Darth Maul challenge. So shout out to Melvin Wilson, Michael Rendall, Nathaniel Lara, and Corey Collins. It's been cool following y'all's progress. Hey, keep up the hard work. I hope you guys can weigh in on your experience on the 30-day Darth Maul challenge for the rest of the Urban Acolyte community really soon. And something that I should put in my idea book is one day maybe hosting an Urban Acolyte experience workshop or something where groups of people can experience some of this stuff that I'm currently developing. But that's a bit further down the line though. Maybe. I'm kicking around the idea of doing an online course really soon on kettlebell training, qigong, and meditation, so we'll see about that. Maybe I'll get on it this summer. But anyway, I'm completely off topic now, and some people don't realize that Urban Acolyte is a training community that talks about Star Wars and geek culture, but they just want to sit around and be geeks who don't train, and I'm not cool with that. But anyway, if you like this video, hey, hit that like button, share it with your friends. If you have something to share with Urban Acolyte community, post it down below in the comments, and I'll be checking back to see what you have to say. And if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click that subscribe button so that you can take your first steps towards becoming an Urban Acolyte. Embark on the journey of becoming the hero of your own story and become a force for change in your community. Hey, if you like this video and you want to see more, be sure to check out these videos on the top Star Wars Episode 9 theories. I've actually got a new one to get out to y'all really soon, and you can also check out this other video from my channel that was picked specifically for you. But that's all I got for this video, so thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you. Always.